How much capital will I need to start a business, you ask? We'll get that question answered in this video. Okay, so that's kind of a broad question, but we're going to fine tune that question down to what type of business do you actually want to get in first, and then we'll decide how much capital do you actually need to get into the business. Because you need to answer the first question before you can move on to the second. As an example, my younger brother Amir, who lives in Hawaii, he started a business, if I remember correctly, while he actually moved to Hawaii and started the business for around $3,000. Now, he got in the business of filmmaking and photography and things like that. So at the beginning, he didn't need much. I believe just a camera, a tripod, and a couple other gadgets, and he got on his way. So sometimes you can get into a business actually relatively cheap. It doesn't have to be, oh, I need, $1 million to start a business. Oh, I'm starting this. I've got to have so much money and go get a loan. I highly recommend bootstrapping any single business that you're going to get into. If there's a way for you to get in without having to borrow money, I absolutely advise that. And one of the biggest mistakes I keep seeing people make is when they come to me, they'll say, have a business plan. And in their business plan, they actually list, need to borrow this much, need to borrow. It's always about borrowing. And I know that that's the business that they're passionate about, and that's the business that they want to get into. But borrowing money, what that does is it puts you way in the hole before you even start. It's kind of like we were having the discussion about whether or not I need a degree or not to start a business. The problem in most cases about getting a college degree is when you come out, you're a couple $100,000 in debt, give or take. Maybe $100,000 on the low end, maybe $300,000 plus on the high end. So being a couple $100,000 in debt to start puts you in the hole for anything you're going to start with in life. And that's what happens to yourself when you start a business and your plan is to sink your ship almost to start. And what I mean by that, not like sink the business, but you as a person, you're going to be sunk like underwater because you've borrowed so much money. So as you start making money, the first step is you have to pay back that loan plus the interest just to get back to even. So I recommend if you've got a business that you don't have, let's say I'll use the example of a restaurant. Let's say you've got an idea that you want to start a restaurant and you've got to do your build out and you've got to buy your equipment and all that stuff. And it's going to cost you, we'll say $200,000. And you say, well, I've only got $5,000. How the heck am I going to start a business? I mean, I have to go borrow the money. Well, maybe now's not the time to start that business, right? Because if you're going to start, you're basically going to borrow nearly all $200,000. And what that could do for you in your future is it could ruin you. Because if you don't succeed, if you don't follow all the success tips and you don't work, 80 hours a week or whatever you got to work, and you don't make the right decisions, or you make some bad ones, maybe you get involved in a bad lawsuit or something like that, and you go out of business, now it's going to be a long time before you even have the opportunity in most cases to start all over again. So we don't want you to be fearful. We just want you to be smart and mindful about the decisions that you're making. So going back to how much capital you need, first we're asking ourselves what kind of business we want to get into. I used the example of my brother, how he virtually moved to Hawaii and started his business with about $3,000, give or take. Let's say you wanted to start the restaurant business and we said you might need $200,000. What if you were one of those highly ambitious individuals that says, I want to start a brand new Mercedes-Benz dealership? Well, wow, that dealership probably needs tens of millions of dollars to start. That's if Mercedes will actually even allow you to be one of their authorized, retailers. They don't just allow anybody to do that. There's a lot of processes you have to go through. So you can see the extreme examples, small business, maybe $2,000 or $3,000, large small business, so to speak. I think they define a small business as under 500 employees, and it depends on who you talk to. But if you're talking about a business that might cost you, say, tens of millions, and a business that costs you only $3,000, that's like light years away. So once you've answered that question and you understand, okay, I want to start a home-based business. We'll just use that as an example, okay? I want to start a home-based business, and all I want to do is I want to manage people's social media, but I want it to be my own business. Well, luckily for you, there's very, very low startup costs to do that. And in most cases, you probably already have most or all of what you need to start that business. Heck, you probably just need a laptop, a computer. You might even be able to use your cell phone depending on the circumstances. So a lot of businesses cost almost nothing to start. There's almost this preconceived notion when you hear somebody say, oh, I'm going to start a business, where automatically you just think, that's $100,000 or that's $500,000. Where am I going to get that money? That's kind of the knee-jerk reaction that you hear from a lot of people is, oh, you're going to need a lot of money for that. Not in this day and age. In this day and age with technology, you can almost start some businesses for almost nothing or the existing equipment that you have. I'll give you the greatest example. This YouTube channel. This YouTube channel is the start of a new business. We're going to see where it leads us. Hasn't cost me anything. I registered on YouTube for free. We're using iPhones right now to film everything. We're doing the uploading ourselves. We're doing the little tweaking and the editing ourselves. My family and my friends are helping me. That's how I'm just getting through this. And that's what makes it, even more exciting is that I don't have this huge financial burden to have to deliver this information to you all. So pick out what type of business you want to do. And then after you know exactly what business you want to do, then we need to figure out how much capital you need. Now, we're gonna go into that. So now you figured out the kind of business you want. And let's just say, as an example, the kind of business that you want costs $10,000 to start up. Whatever that business may be, it costs you $10,000. Well, in a previous video, we explained how you can start a business with little money, right? Simply by making sacrifices and cutting unnecessary items out of your daily living expenses, out of your life. Together, those two are like your 1-2 punch, and you can knock all that money down to where your expenses are so much lower that you can actually start saving so that as the months go by, you're setting that money aside and you can accumulate money to start your business. So you can accumulate $10,000, and realistically, that could be done in a year, maybe 2 years max, depending on the lifestyle you live and how much you earn and what your expenses are. But if you really wanted it more than anything, you can probably get it done within 1 to 2 years. So assuming that your business model is $10,000, everybody's got their different threshold of comfort. Okay, that's something that you'll learn as time goes when you're in business. And that is this. Ironically, as this video is being filmed, we're still in the heat of this coronavirus pandemic situation. We're in late April. And the issue that we have here is if you had had a business that in a sense was living paycheck to paycheck, meaning the business could only survive while being open. So it needed to be open, it needed to serve customers, it needed to have that revenue so you could meet your payroll, you pay your rent. And then if it stopped, that within less than a month, your company operating account would run out of money. I don't like that idea. I don't like the idea of being in a business where I've only got enough money to last like 30 days. That'd be like if the world's gonna end only having 30 days worth of water, right? So you've got people that are preppers that plan. Well, you need to be a prepper in your business because in business, regardless of the industry, regardless of the business that you're going to be in, you're gonna have all 4 seasons, okay? So you're gonna switch from summer to spring to winter to fall, back to summer, back to fall, back to winter. You're gonna go through the seasons. So you have to plan for winter season. Winter season is when it's cold, business is slow, things aren't the way they used to be, and you have to be able to survive through your slow times. Most of my businesses have that. They have their really peak seasons, and then like what I call base hitting, where they're just getting by. They might make a little bit, lose a little bit each month, but they just kind of get by, and then they have these big spikes. That's what you have to keep in mind. During those times when things are going slow, you have to be able to have not only the money, you need to have some credit, some good credit in the business that you can afford to pay back so that you can survive those times. And keeping controls of your expenses are crucial because expenses is what can cripple or make you go out of business. The biggest expenses that a business will always have to endure is payroll and rent, at least for me, for my businesses. Those two things, those two expenses, payroll and rent, are the things that you're gonna have to get through and you're gonna have to fine tune nonstop. Payroll will eat up your expenses and will eat up your profits because of your largest expense. So it's great. Like if you say, well, my company, my gross revenue, maybe, I make $30,000 a month, gross profit. But after I make my payroll and my rent, I make $1,000. Well, geez, have you ever thought maybe I should cut down my payroll a little bit? Maybe I have too many people working overtime. Are you really monitoring these people that are eating up all that payroll money every month? Are they actually doing work for your business, for you, that makes sense to have them work those hours? Are they basically being productive enough? Because if you remember, the original reason you hire people to work for you is to take layers off your back so you don't have to do everything, but to do things ultimately that produce a profit so that you can afford to pay them for their efforts. You're not just hiring them. And I've had people that I know that have made the cardinal rule mistake of hiring friends and family specifically because they like them. They're their friends or their family. They want them to be happy. They want them to work for them, but they don't have any business sense. So they just keep paying them. And of course, the relationship works out until that person runs out of money. And then they have to make that horrible, sad decision to tell their friends and family that you got to go. I can't afford you anymore. I'm sorry. I wish this. I wish that. Business, unfortunately, has no mercy. It doesn't matter if your friends are working for you, your family's working for you. If they don't produce, if the business can't be open because like a coronavirus pandemic happens, then unfortunately you cannot have them work for you. That's just how the system is. And the whole system knows that. That's why when the pandemic happened here, why we're getting government bailouts, because the government knows that this system can't survive without business. So when all the businesses are being forced to shut down, then guess what? Then there's no money coming in, which means the business owners who have payroll can't pay the payroll. And the people that are the employees, well, because they're not getting paid, they can't put money into the system. They can't pay their bills. Okay, that's the issue that you have with being a business owner. So you're constantly pulling strings and balancing how much income you have coming in and how many expenses you have going out the door. You cannot have your expenses go like this. Look what happens. It's like a balance beam, right? You want your profits to be up here and your expenses to be down here. That's the goal. So make sure that you're figuring out a way that your income and your profits super exceed. Like you want them to ultimately way exceed this. Now, within reason. I mean, you don't want to understaff to where your business is getting bad reviews because you're providing crappy service and things like that. That's what you have to think about, and many other factors. So again, back to the question about how much capital do you need to start your business? Well, first decide what kind of business do you want to get into. Home-based business, a brick and mortar business like a restaurant where you have to lease out space and do some build out? Or are you going to be one of those aggressive people that someday opens up a new car dealership and you need tens of millions of dollars? That's going to be the question that you have to answer about how much capital you need to start your business. Okay, everybody, thanks very much. Until the next video, be the hustler.